Hey, this is Dust. Thank you for joining me. It's been a long time, a year in fact, since my last video. But life's been busy. I've had a second daughter. So as you can imagine, my free time has been almost next to negligible. However, I've been meaning to do a Rimworld beginner's guide for some time. I've done a prison architect one, which I really enjoyed doing, and it seems to have helped a lot of people. And I was waiting also for Rimworld to hit the 1.0 release, which it has done a few months ago. So now I think the time is good. I've got a new microphone, which hopefully is super clear. So the stars have aligned, and I appear to have a little bit of time in which to create the beginner's guide for Rimworld. So just to be clear, this is really aimed at people who have never really played Rimworld before, maybe interested in playing it, or have played it, run into issues, and they would like just someone to kind of guide them through it. I'm going to not go through too many stats and figures and options and bloody blah, but I'm going to really, I think it's probably better if I just play through a colony, how I'd play it from scratch. So this is going to be vanilla, no mods, because I think that just might confuse the issue, at least initially. And I'll be explaining what I do to start off with. I don't know how long I'll carry this on for, but probably not too long really, because things can get a little bit repetitive. But hopefully, if it's well received, I can sort of carry it on. So just to be clear, it's not a let's play as such. It's more of a kind of explanatory as to what I'm doing. So without further ado, let's crack on. The first thing I'd recommend you do is do the tutorial, because that is a good starting point, obviously. That gives you the basics, the kind of controls, the UI, etc. And it will also kind of guide you through making your first colony. However, there's a lot of things it doesn't tell you. Rimworld is quite a deep game, and there's a lot of nuances and a lot of things that you'll just not know about. I'm still finding out new things about it, mostly around right-clicking certain things, but we can cover that as well. So I'll go for new colony. You got different options here. I think they go down in difficulty. So this is probably the easiest, the traditional 3-people crash on a Rimworld with resources, weapons, some defences and bits and pieces. Lost Tribe, you start with a very kind of low technology level. You don't have guns, you have to research all that, but there's more of you. And that can be a force multiplier in itself, of course. Rich Explorer, one guy with advanced technology, but there's only one of him, or one of you. But you do start with gun turrets, which is quite useful. Yeah, so it gets more difficult. And then Naked Brutality, you start naked, alone, and unprepared. Being naked is actually quite an issue, because you get a debuff for it right from the word go. So that is an extra thing you've got to do, is kill enough animals and use their skin to craft clothes as a real basic. So that's something to bear in mind. Excuse me while I clear my throat. However, I'd recommend you go for the crash landed, traditional 3 survivors. This is kind of your average difficulty. Right, AI storytellers. So there's 3 different types. You've got Cassandra Classic, you've got Phoebe Chillax, and you've got Randy Random. They both kind of explain what they do. Randy Random is not recommended for your first few playthroughs. He can be quite brutal. It's all kind of RNG as to what happens to you in terms of events and other bits and pieces. Phoebe Chillax, as the name would suggest, it gives you a lot of time between disasters, or events, should I say. Some events can be positive, of course. Not many, but some. But based on difficulty level, that can be quite difficult as well. Or you can go for Cassandra Classic. Now this is your sort of classic storyteller, and she will increase, as it says, the curve of challenge and tension based upon basically how wealthy your colony is. So the better you do, the harder the challenges will be. So the raids will be bigger, the events will be tougher, etc, etc. However, I would go with Cassandra to start off with, and then choose your difficulty level. So I'm going to go with medium, and I'm going to choose the reload anytime mode, which is your classic. If I want to save scum, I can. Commitment was also known as Iron Man. You can only save when you quit. So anything that happens to you is kind of, well, you've got to stick with it, or restart the game. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to go with reload anytime mode. I'll choose next. Right, the seed. I'm going to choose a seed called tutorial, just because it's a tutorial. You can click on randomize seed, and this basically allows you to create the planet that you are going to be playing on. So not the map itself, but the planet. Globe coverage. This is how much of the planet will be generated. Honestly, 30% is enough. Depending on your PC, this could take a long time if you set it to 50 or 100. Leave it on 30 for now. Overall rainfall, overall temperature. Increasing it to high, well, that will do as you would expect it will. More of your biomes will be kind of watery, water-based, rainforest, lots of rain. Your temperature, put it on high, again you'll have more sort of desert area. And then opposite for the low. I'll leave it on normal for now. You click on generate. Okay, so as you can see, only 30% of the world has been generated, but this is perfectly fine for our purposes. So the different regions have been given names, and you can see the different biomes are in different colours. What's a biome? A biome is a starting area. So for instance, right at the top you've got, as it says here, sea ice. Permanent ice sheets floating on water. Now this is super difficult. Don't even bother with this until you're a lot more experienced, and even then you're going to struggle. Ice sheet, a little bit easier. Think extreme desert. Again, you're going to struggle, so I would leave this for now. Then start moving down. You've got tundra, so it's mostly frozen. Then as you get down, you start getting more kind of temperate climate. I would recommend you start on temperate forest, because temperate forest is a little bit more forgiving. As you can see, the average temperatures are not too cold, not too warm. You get a long growing period, so pretty much half of the year. Average rainfall. Can animals graze? Yes, but you also get the ability to grow berries on the map, or rather they grow themselves, so you don't have to farm them at all. You don't have to grow them, they just grow themselves, and then of course you can harvest them and you can eat them. So good for a kind of early game food source if you get stuck. So as I said, I'll go with temperate forest. I would go for something probably not over here, so don't go for flat. Go for mountainous, or actually I'd rather go for kind of large hills or small hills, because you get resources in those hills that you can dig out, you can mine out, and then you can use. So things like compacted machinery, things like silver, gold, jade, and also metal, of course, with which you can use. If you start in a flat area, it's a little bit more difficult. You don't get as much to mine, and so you're relying on kind of deep drilling to get those extra resources, and that takes time to research. So I would probably go with something like this. So small hills, you've got a little stone road that can be, I think the bigger the road, you can actually use it for resources, but I'm not 100% sure of that. You certainly can with ancient asphalt roads. These come with kind of lamppost blocks, as they used to be, and those can be deconstructed and you get resources from them. But for these purposes, I'm going to show you small hills, stone road. You can see here we've got marble, limestone and sandstone. You've got the average temperature, looks fine, doesn't get too cold, and you've got grazing, berries, all looks good. We'll go with that. That is fine. Feel free to experiment, as I said. Do whatever you like. We are close to certain factions here, so we can see that the lime green factions, they're hostile to us. That's them. And then the red factions, being skull and crossbones, are probably pirates, which they are. So we've got Outlander, Tribe, Pirate Band. Outlander Union are going to be gun toting, as is the Pirate Band, and the tribes will be kind of that tribe technology. So it'll all be melee weapons, bows and arrows, spears, that kind of thing. So that's what you can expect to happen. Some people don't like fighting tribes, because if you capture them, they're quite hard to enlist in your colony. Some people prefer fighting guns, some people prefer fighting all tribes. Your mileage may vary, but this is generated when you generate the planet. So if you want to change this, you've got to generate a new planet. So we'll go with this, and we'll click on next. And it's warning me that because I'm within 4 tiles of another faction base, they all feel that you're encroaching on the land, and relations with that faction will worsen every 15 days. Fine, I don't care about that, because honestly, it's only going to go one way anyway as they raid you, so that's fine. Okay, this is the important bit, choosing your colonists. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this, because I could do half an hour on this easily, and it's not going to be particularly interesting to watch. What I would say is pay attention to health, pay attention to incapable of, and traits. Okay, you select a person, that's this window here. The 3 that you've got here are what's covered under team skills. So you want this area to be as kind of fleshed out and as even as possible. You can see here we've got a big problem around cooking, big problem around intellectual. This will affect research. This will affect cooking your meals. The lower the cooking skill, the more chance they have of getting food poisoning. And that is quite an issue. They'll be slower, they'll be sick all the time, the sick will have to be cleaned up, and they'll get debuff from being ill and feeling miserable. So this needs to be kind of 5, 6 or so. Incapable of. Watch out for this, because if they're incapable of too much, personally the two that I try to avoid are dumb labour and the three that I try to avoid are dumb labour, firefighting and violence. Is there one with here, violence? No. So basically, where's that one? Dumb labour means what they can't do. If you hover over their backstory, you'll see what they can and can't do. And you can see this this pawn, Priscilla, she can't do firefighting, doctoring, hauling or cleaning. Now, hauling and cleaning is not the end of the world. It's quite annoying if they can't haul. Doctoring is neither here nor there really, because there's obviously more who can doctor. Firefighting is a bit of a drag, because if your colony's burning down, they're just going to sit there and let it burn. That's not so great. Okay, so I would try and avoid that if you can. Incapable of intellectual is no big deal. Incapable of none is obviously the most desirable. So I'd watch out if they can't do dumb labour and if they can't do violence, okay, because then they will not fight, and that in itself is also a problem. Other than that, I would just go with it, and it's all part of the challenge. Regarding traits, I would look all these up on the Wikipedia, and this is probably a good time to plug the Wikipedia. The Wikipedia is excellent. It's probably the best one I've seen for a game, period. So look up traits on the Wikipedia and find out the ones you do and don't want. Now, if they're positive, fantastic. But each positive tends to have a negative, so careful shooter. Aiming time takes 25% more, but they're more accurate. So it takes longer to shoot, but the shot will probably hit. Do you want that or not? It's entirely up to you. So look for traits, look them up, see which ones you can and can't live with. One trait to avoid, if I were you, is a fire starter, and the name just escapes me now. Oh, I'm sure it's here, sorry. Pyromaniac. Mental blank, yes, Pyromaniac. Because the problem with Pyromaniac is that your early colonies are going to be mostly made out of wood. So they are kind of quite susceptible to fires. Now, if someone's a pyromaniac, if they have a mental break, they'll just go around randomly starting fires. And you can guarantee it's going to be in the middle of a raid, when they're injured, or basically when you can't afford for it to happen. So I would avoid pyromaniac like the plague. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say about traits. As I said, it could be here for a year talking about this. So look it up on the Wikipedia, choose the ones that you think are best. Health, make sure that they are not crippled too badly, because it will just affect their moving around. And they don't have a drug addiction, because it's just a pain in the neck. Whole body, she's got smoke leaf dependence. Nah, I don't think so. So if it's in pink, it's a problem. Left leg, torso, going to be very slow at moving. So I'd watch out for that sort of thing. As I said, the aim is really, as far as you can, get your team skills to be as sort of fleshed out as possible. I was going to pick 3 pawns, and also you can click the randomise button, by the way, so you can randomise your pawns and find ones that are good. You can't allocate points to these manually, but you can just click on randomise until you find 1 or 2 or 3 that you like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to speed the video up now while I just click through and just try and get some rounded out pawns here. So this may take a moment. Right, so I've got 3 here who are kind of relatively fleshed out. It's not too bad. These flames, by the way, mean that they are very good at learning. So if they got 1 flame, they'll learn 100%. If they got 2 flames, they'll learn much quicker whenever they do that thing. So a few things here are a little bit low. Cooking's okay, and these other ones are kind of we can live with. So we're going to go with this. And we're going to press start. Right, so our 3 colonists have landed, although I can only see 2 of them. Oh, there we go. They've landed. Now, the colonists all land with a random animal, and in this instance you can see it's a monkey called Boy. So this is probably a good time to talk about training the monkey. This may not be obvious, but all animals can be trained to a certain level. The more intelligent the animal, the more they can do. In this instance, we can train this monkey to do everything, but because he's quite young, he can't do... Sorry, because he's too small, not too young. He can't do rescuing or hauling. So he can do obedience of release, which means that he can assign a master, be assigned a master, and follow. He can also be released to attack distant targets. as opposed to just defending the person who is his master. So click both of those and they'll be trained in due course. Right, now let's zoom out and see what we've got. So we've got, okay, we've got a lake in the middle, we've got some interesting layout. Okay, this is cool. Yep, lots of resources here. So while we're here, let's have a quick look around. We've got, you can see that we've got this area here. Now this is probably worth mentioning. Whenever you start a map and you've got what looks like this, it's a nice square attached to a mountain. Generally, it'll always be a nice, what looks like a room attached to a mountain. This will be what they call an ancient danger. Now, if you move one of these guys close to it, you'll get a little pop-up saying he senses something inside here, or one of them does. This is something to be opened up later. They can be benign. It could just be some colonists in crypto sleep caskets, or it can be worse. So what I would do is wait until your colony is a little bit more established and you've got a few more people. Then you can basically choose that, choose deconstruct, and open it up and see what's in there. But be prepared to defend yourself. That's all I'll say on that. It does vary from map to map, but you'll always find a map. On every map there will be one of these attached to a piece of rock, which is like a square room. So just be on the lookout for that. So what have we got? What's defendable and defensible? I mean, this is a nice open spot which people could attack you through. So what we could do, we could set up in the middle here, which is quite nice. And anybody attacking would have to come across a lake or mud. So what we've got here is if you just move the cursor on, you see in the bottom left hand corner, it changes to tell you what is on the square that you're hovering over. So you've got mud, got shallow water, deep water. Shallow water can be moved through, deep water can't be moved through, and mud can also be moved through, but it tells you that it's going to slow your walk speed down to 52%. So this is probably quite a good defensible spot. So what we're going to do is we are going to use this building here because it's pretty much built. We're going to add a couple of doors, build some beds, and then we'll go from there. Unfortunately, we're not near any rich soil in which to grow crops. So by rich soil, I mean this soil here. If you hover over it again, you can see bottom left hand corner, you get 140% fertilization, which means that the crops you plant will grow at 140% speed. And it's this kind of brown area here, apart from this mud, so it's down to about here. This is all rich soil. Okay, so ideally you want to plant crops in here where possible. Now, honestly, it's going to be too far from my starting area for this to be realistic. So that's not something we can utilize. There's no rich soil around here that I can see. But that's okay. That's fine. We can work with that. Maybe when we reach it. I don't know. But anyway, so okay. Next thing's next. Your three guys. Let's arm them first of all. So click on the unit. Click on the bio. And what have we got? He's got shooting 6, shooting 10, shooting 0, melee of 3, melee 3, melee 7. Okay. Now you can either click on the pawns, or you can click on the pawn and press the left and right pointy brackets, and it just cycles through them. Okay, so that's like a handy shortcut. So she's got the best shooting, so we're going to give her the bolt action rifle. So I'm going to right click on that. This dude has got no shooting skills at all, so he's going to get the knife, and Ilarion is going to get the pistol, which is just there. Okay. Now, this is going to be our area that we want to use, so we're going to put in a couple of doors and fill in the corner of the wall there. So I'm going to, by double-clicking a resource, it highlights all of that resource on the map, on the screen, and you just click on F, or, sorry, click on Allow or press F, which means the red cross disappears, and they can now interact with that item. So again, double-click, press F. So now they can use the wood. Components which are used for, basically used in all electronic things. We're going to allow the money, medicine, the pre-packaged survival meals which they'll need, and the flak pants. Right, so let them go and get the weapons. Now, before they begin work, there's one thing that we need to do. We need to basically flick this over to manual priorities. Now I always do this, and I'd recommend you do as well. It's very easy just to leave it on this, which means they'll basically do everything which is ticked from this side, moving across. And that's fine, but you get a lot more control over it if you click on manual priorities. So it works from the left again. So choose firefighting to 1, Patient means that they will go and lie down and get rest as a priority, which is what you want them to do. If they get injured, you want them to go and lie down. If you hover over the top, it'll tell you exactly what that covers. So again, so who's a doctor? So she's got skill 4, skill 10, skill 13. So these two want to be the doctor. She doesn't want to be a doctor, so we'll put that at very low priority. These two will obviously go to it first. Bed rest, basic, so like flick switches and all the other stuff. Warden. So a warden is a person who basically feeds and tries to recruit prisoners. So what are their skills? They got a 3 and a 0, so we're quite poor on that. So you're going to be the warden in this instance. Handling, this is for animals. So who's going to train the monkey? We got a 3, we got a 1, we got a 3. So, but this person learns. You can see the little fire symbol. So we'll put that in there as a 2. Cooking. So we've got a skill 5, so you can be our cook. And as it turns out, who's got the gun? Is it... Yeah, Fringer has the gun. So Fringer's going to be the one who's going to go hunting. And the others won't hunt because I wouldn't recommend melee hunting. You hunt with a ranged weapon, basically. Otherwise you can get into all sorts of issues. So construction, we've got a 5 skill, 3 skill, and a 0 skill. So you tend to get this a lot with certain pawns, that they tend to be good at everything. So you kind of want to avoid this if you can. Although these people don't have very good skills in construction, you don't want this guy to be doing the cooking, the hunting, and the constructing, even though they've got good skills. So you want to try and get the others trained up on that. However, Contreras has good growing skills, so they're going to be your grower and your harvester. And mining, we'll get them all to do mining at some point, but on a low priority. Smithing and tailoring I'm going to turn off for now. We don't need that, or art and craft. That can go off for now. Hauling and cleaning, I'm going to set cleaning to a low priority. And research, we don't have a research bench. We're going to switch that off for now. And hauling, we'll make it a 2. Okay, so that's that set. It's a little bit lengthy and a little bit boring, but it needs to be done. Once it's set, it's actually quite handy. Okay, so first things first. We're going to go into structure. We're going to go to wooden door. I'm going to choose, if you click on it, you can choose the materials that you have to hand. So we have wood, we have steel, we have silver. You can make walls and doors out of lots and lots of things, but if you don't have access to it, it won't give it to you as an option. So for instance, here we have marble, we've got sandstone, we've got lots and lots of different things here. It's just marble. I thought we had slate here as well. Slate's a darker grey. We've probably got slate here somewhere, I think, if I remember correctly. Oh well, anyway, point is that because it's still in its form of being in a rock and you haven't mined it, you don't have the option to build with it. So what you can do is you just build what you've got. So I'm going to build a wooden door there and there, and I'm going to build a wooden wall there. So let's speed things up a little bit. So our pawns now get to work. So this guy's grabbed some wood. He's putting the wood in place. Or she, sorry. Now we're building. There we go. Brilliant. Now putting a roof on it. Brilliant. So now if you hover over the inside here, you'll see in the bottom left hand corner down here, over here, it says indoors. So now it's indoors and it's 6 degrees, so it's not particularly warm. So what we'd like to do, I think, is go to furniture, get a torch, not a torch lamp. Torch lamp, is that going to warm things up enough? Let's get a campfire going. And then we're going to put in some beds as well. So again, furniture, beds. There's lots of things here, but we'll come to those in due course. I'm going to put in 3 beds because having somewhere to sleep in the warm is actually quite important. So I'm going to put those in. And again, you can make beds out of lots of things, but in this instance, we're surrounded by wood. So let's build, whoops, don't do that. Let's build a wooden bed. So these guys are going to quickly do that. The other thing to do very quickly is create a zone, create a stockpile. So we're going to move all our stuff from here over to our stockpile zone. There we go. So if any pawns aren't directly making or constructing, they're going to go and drag this stuff over to here now, which you can see this chap's doing. Okay, so we made 2 out of 3 beds. Cool. So this builder botched the construction, so they're going to have to restart again after losing some resources. Now, Ilarion, let's have a look at his bio. So he's not very good at construction at all. However, you can see here, if I hover over it, he's now got 909. So he'll be levelling up very soon. as soon as he does any constructing, this ticks up. So that's actually quite good. These beds say unowned. As soon as they go and sleep in it, the bed will belong to them, and that'll be their bed. So we can see now that we've got some beds, we've got a roof, we've got some shelter, so that's actually pretty awesome. We've got a stockpile as well. Okay, we've got metal. Next thing we need to do is, let's take a look at a pawn and take a look at their needs. So we can see that he's got some positives. He's got very low expectations, he's optimistic, but we've eaten without a table and the environment is a bit ugly. Well, what about this guy? He's soaking wet. Don't know what that would be, it's not raining. Okay, so let's deal with this one. Hey, this is a good indicator of what you should be doing next, really. So let's put in a table, for instance. So we need a small table. Now, if you want to rotate, you can rotate using, well, the middle mouse button is the default. So you just press the middle mouse button in and it rotates around. So we'll have that there. Now, you can either build a stool or a dining chair, but you'll notice the stool takes 25 wood, over here on the left, and a chair takes 45. Okay, so we're going to build three stools for now. Okay, so you'll see that we've actually almost run out of wood now. I think we've got enough to build these 2 stools. Right, let me just pause it there. Now, this character here, Ilarion, went close to this, and we've got this ancient danger pop-up over here. Now, it says there that as he nears the ancient wall, a sense of foreboding overcomes him. So, what this means is this just confirms what I said earlier, that this room contains something which is well, probably beyond your ability to deal with at this time. So we're just going to leave that well alone for now. So what's he doing? Is he just going for a walk? Okay, cool. Right, now, having a stockpile here is all well and good, but you'll notice that if I click on one, it says it's deteriorating because it's unroofed and it's outdoors. So this situation isn't great. What we need to do is get this into a fridge, where if we create a fridge, we can put these inside. Now, these don't need to be refrigerated, but when we start hunting, our food will need to be refrigerated in order to keep it fresh. So we need to get a stockpile of food and a storeroom. So what we need to do, I think, is build a storeroom next, and then get all this stuff that needs to be put inside, and then build a kitchen and like a fridge. So in terms of like steel, silver, and this stuff does need to be put in a storeroom, but you might want to put it in there just to sort of keep it safe if you want to. But again, you don't have to, so it's not a big deal. So I think what we'll do next is we'll create a small storeroom for now out of trees, and we will make sure that this stuff doesn't deteriorate. And then we'll turn the storeroom into a fridge once we have got some power in order to add on a chiller unit. So let's go structure, wooden wall, and let's just make a storeroom there. And I think having a door probably in the wall like that is good. I suspect we don't have enough wood, so let's just expand out these things up here. Now this item up here can be turned on or turned off by going down to this bottom corner, and you can actually get it to group together, or you can just have a flat list. Now I used to like the flat list, but actually having it grouped together is quite nice. You can actually switch that on down here, this bottom left hand corner. This will tell me that we've actually got no wood stockpiled here. Now wood could be lying about the map after we've chopped some trees down, but it won't appear on here until it's in our stockpile zone. But that doesn't matter because our pawns will know that there is some wood lying on the map, and then they can go and pick it up. In this instance, we've run out of wood, so what we need to do is start chopping down some wood nearby where we are. So we're going to go to orders, chop wood, and we can drag it out and they'll start chopping some down. You can select a tree and say chop wood if you want to manually, but obviously it takes time to do that if you're doing it all manually. So they're just chilling out. We can see here that we've not got enough wood to complete the table, so that will happen when this wood starts to get chopped down. See, he's actually putting it down here, she's picking it up, and she's going to finish the table. There we go. So now we've got all this running, which is great. Cool. So lots of teamwork going on here, and that's complete as well. So putting the roof on it. So one thing to point out, if you've come from Prison Architect, now with Prison Architect you need to build foundations before you can build effectively a room which is considered to be sort of roofed. Well, Rimworld is slightly different in as far as you just need to build walls and it will count as like a proper building and will start to be roofed itself. So that's one thing to bear in mind if you come from Prison Architect. That's the subtle difference. Right, now, next thing to do, we need to get all this stuff into here. So how do we do that? Okay, go to zone, stockpile zone. Oh, we create stockpile zone there. Now, this area in here, we want our food to go inside. So we click on stockpile zone, click on storage, and here is where we want to show what is and isn't allowed to be put in this zone. Okay, so let's clear everything. However, we want to allow foods. You can be a lot more granular and specific, and we'll probably come on to that in due course, but for now we want all the foods in here. But more importantly, we want to remove foods from being out here, because out here they deteriorate, so we untick that. So what's going to happen now is that all the foods will be moved from here into here, and I suspect, and our medicine I think is good to move our medicine too, because that's deteriorating. We will move the medicine subsequently when we build a little infirmary, but for now we will say we'll allow the medicine to go in here. Now, there's no easy way to find stuff in here apart from you kind of know where it is, so you may have some initial frustrations finding out what you want or where to find it. It's been quite handy to have a little search feature, but you don't have that. But medicines is under manufactured. Click on that. I don't want medicines to be there. So, you'll see now that the food is being moved, and the medicines too, eventually, into the storage area. And they're all going to sleep, which is great. Next thing to do is to get some power, and then we can turn this into a refrigerated unit, and once that's done then we can start hunting probably these muffalo down here and start cooking and getting proper food supply sorted, because we got shelter, we got heat, we got something to eat, we got storage, we now next need power, and then we can start getting a fridge unit. So these guys are pretty much on top of this, so he's moving all the stuff in there. Okay, let's look at power. Now, what have we got? We have a wind turbine, which is quite nifty. Wind turbine, obviously wind powered, so it'll work throughout the night. Chem fuel power generator, so we don't have access to chem fuel just yet, but you will later. Wood fire generator, perfect. That will actually be quite nice to use. There are other power options available. If you flick over to research, we'll see that we will then have access to other things in due course. So for instance, this is the research tree. If it's green, we've researched it already, and if it's in kind of this kind of black and light blue, it means that we have access to research it. If it's greyed out, it means there are some prerequisites. So for instance, if you want to research machining, you need to research electricity, which we have, and also smithing. Now, the point I was making is that you need to research in order to get batteries and in order to get solar panels. Now, batteries is really critical because it means that you obviously can store electricity. So say, for instance, you have solar panels in the day, you can save up the power so it can be used at night. So don't have batteries, which is a bit of a drag. So that's kind of a important first thing to research. So let's get some power anyway. We're going to go with a wood-fired generator. Now this does produce heat as well, so in the winter we could potentially use that as a heat source. However, for now we're just going to put it outside, and we're going to put it, I don't know, down here, because it can be placed outside. You'll notice it needs two components. Components we have some of already, as you can see we've got 30 of them, and as you begin to run out of components, you can get more by basically mining compacted machinery. That's this here. That's what this looks like. Now this is a finite resource. You've got some there. I think we had some up here as well. Once that runs out, then you either have to make your own components, or you can buy them from passing traders and other people. But again, that's a kind of an advanced game feature. I notice up here we have some food, so let me, oops, just allow that. So they'll go and fetch that in due course. So looking okay for food. So let's unselect that. So what they're going to do now, they're going to make the generator. While they're doing that, we're going to run some power. So we're going to run it up. Best to keep power conduits in the walls where possible. It makes them a lot more protected, and it also means, well, yeah. So they're basically protected from a little bit more protected from fires, and also they are considered to be ugly. So if you put them in the walls, nobody sees them. So that's actually pretty handy. Okay, so you notice that we've now built it, the wood-fired generator, but it's warning that it has no wood inside. So Fringer is about to top it up. So now we have power. So we can see we have fuel for 3.2 days. There's a little bit more fuel to be put in, but that runs for 3 days for 75 wood, which is pretty good. Okay, so we've got power, we've got electricity, and you can see that this power grid is running and it's all up and as perfect. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put in a refrigeration unit, a cooler, and turn this area into a fridge. So you click on that, and now you'll notice that when you rotate it, again by pressing the middle mouse button, you'll see that one side is blue, one side is red. Now, if I place it like this, what this means is that this blue area will be refrigerated and the exhaust heat will be pushed out on the left-hand side. So if you align it like that, what you're going to do, you're going to heat up the room. And now in this instance, we don't want to do that. So we turn it around and we can see that this room will be chilled. It's going to take 90 metal and 3 components. We have 385 metal and we've got 28 components, so that's perfect. So they're going to do that. Excuse me, got a bit of a dry throat. Okay, so that's been built. Now you click on that and you can see the cooler. The target temperature is currently set to 21 degrees centigrade, which is bad. We don't want that. So you can lower the target temperature in units of 10 or 1, or you can reset it back to 21. So we're going to reduce it, and you can see it's dropped to 11. Reduce it, and then we're going to reduce it by, say, set to -5. Okay. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that the hotter it is outside, heat does leak through in, but also heat leaks out. So in the winter, if you're trying to heat a room, if it's really cold outside, that heat leaks out just like it would in a normal house. And also, the outside temperature can come in as well. So the hotter it is outside, the colder you're going to have to set this target temperature. Just bear that in mind. But for now, it's 16 degrees outside. So if you watch over here, I'm going to hover inside the room, and that temperature, you'll see indoors, it's starting to drop now. 7, 4, it's kind of going up, down, up, down, up, down. There we go, -1, -2. So it's not quite cold enough, I don't think. So I need to drop that by another couple of degrees centigrade. Also, the bigger the room, obviously, you may need to add a second cooler in order to reach your desired target temperature. Keeping it about -5 is fine. This then, if I hover over it, actually it doesn't show it on here, but when you start to make food, it will say your food is refrigerated and it will never spoil. So that is something to bear in mind. Right. So you'll notice now, when your colonists are idle, they've got no jobs to do, they will start reverting to relaxing, cleaning. They'll start to get to this end of the scale of what you've got to do. Okay. So we've done the important construction. We've done, setting up rooms and beds and whatnot. So the next thing we need to do is set up growing areas. So I'm going to create a zone, growing zone, and I'm going to create a couple of, say, 5x5 growing zones. So I've got a growing zone. Notice that I used a growing zone, not stockpile zone. Okay, growing zone is what you must do in order for them to plant and to grow food. Now, you choose the zone. It defaults to potatoes. Okay, but you can change this to other things. So, for instance, say I wanted to grow strawberries. That's great. Strawberries have their advantages and disadvantages. They're not particularly efficient to grow, but you can eat them raw without getting a debuff. And a debuff means if I click on needs, these are all debuffs. Okay. However, strawberries are not particularly efficient to grow, so you'd probably want to grow rice, maybe corn. Corn is inefficient, but you get a huge yield. The advantage is it takes a long time to grow, and the disadvantage is, the disadvantage takes a long time to grow. The advantage is you get a huge amount of bits and pieces out. Potatoes can be grown in poor earth. They're less susceptible to the earth having to be nice, although rice is a good thing to start with. So I'm going to grow 2 lots of rice. Yeah, there's no limit to how much you can grow. You can make the zones bigger anytime you want by choosing expand zone. So I can do that, and I do that, for instance, or I can shrink the zone by doing that. So it's all very neat and tidy. So now what's going to happen is the person who's got the grow, the grow or plant, skill. So Contreras is going to start planting rice plant. and they'll clear the areas necessary. So chop down a tree in this instance, and here they'll clear the bushes. Okay. So next thing we need to do really is think about setting up a kitchen and a butcher table, and then we can start hunting animals and getting our own food source. Because at the moment we're relying on these packaged survival meals, which are fine, but they don't make anybody happy. You know, and also you need to pay attention to these debuffs. Now at the moment I think it's probably too hot for them, so I'm probably going to deconstruct that, and I'm going to just put in a light source, which is also give them heat. So let's just put that there. Now at this point I could also build a standing lamp as well, because we have power, and that will give them light as well. But we've got plenty of wood, so it's not that much of a big deal. Okay, I think given how much I've been talking and how much information I've thrown at you, it's probably a good point to stop. So I'm going to save this and we'll come back to it in part 2. There's lots more to discuss: setting up a kitchen, a butcher table, getting your food source sorted out and everything else. But I hope this has been useful. If it has, please leave a like, please leave a comment. Tell me, do you feel I've missed anything? Have I concentrate too much on something? Is there something you particularly like to see? All those sorts of things. Please throw them at me, and I'm more than happy to include it in the second part of this, which I'll publish very soon. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.